But now that was shortly, and we're gonna walk through very interesting case, real life case from Tampere tram project. And we have here Teppo Viinikka, who has been using Infrakit when he has been working in a company called Sweco and working in Infrasite as a head of surveying in Tampere Tramway Alliance project. So Teppo, the stage is yours. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Manu. Okay, so I'll shortly try to tell you what we have done and how we have used Tampere. It's not a very in-depth view of how we have done it, but I have tried to cover in here the main aspects, if I could say. All right, so Tampere Tramway Alliance, use of Infrakit in construction and handover. I'm Teppo Viinikka, head of surveying at Tramway Alliance from Sweco Infra and Rail. The main topics will be the project in general, using construction and handover. So the Tampere tramway system is the first modern tramway system in Finland. It consists of 15 kilometers of dual track that goes through the main street in the city centrum. In the southern areas, there's the depot area. In the northeast corner, there is the hospital area, and the possible second stage continues from the city main street to the west at 2020. Along the first phase, we have made 10 new bridges, modified 7 old ones, and built 20 new retaining walls to fit the tramway system in the current transportation systems along the way. As this is the first of its kind, we have put effort in doing things in a more developed way than before. We have tried to share data in a new way, as we could say. We have ditched the papers nearly completely, as all the data that goes to the site managers and builders, we have focused on PDF files and digital data. The client is also in the alliance as a partner, so we all share the benefits and negatives. So everyone is focused on doing good, and we are all focused in developing the infrastructure and the whole construction business in this area. Numbers today. So the project has used up 75% of its schedule. Work completion is 84%, and we have used up 81% of our budget. So at this very moment, we are within our schedule and budget, but we have completed work ahead of time. This is kind of an open method that we even share on our website. So all the citizens and everyone can go there and follow up these percentages as we are going forward, and they can see what has been done and what are the current numbers. So let's dive to the use in construction. I'll show you first the main data cycle and then how the different parties use and get the data and what do they provide back. Initially, the design engineer creates the design model or design, and the infra model coordinator checks it up. They're uploaded to Google Drive, and from there the data site manager or surveyor goes and gathers the data and does another check to the data and validates it. So it has been checked by the design engineer, possibly the infra model coordinator, and the surveyor or site data manager. So it possibly has a triple check behind it. So it's valid data when it goes to Infrakit. That's very critical because from there, the constructors use it, the heavy machinery, and the site managers use it. And also the surveyors go from Infrakit and gather the data and use it on the field. And it's not just the people that work on the construction site who gather the data from Infrakit, as also the design engineers go and gather from there the as-built data to complete the current designs or to make new designs completely from those as-built points. So who uses and how the Infrakit? All of the workforce on the site has possibility to use Infrakit. So if you have a smartphone, you can download the Infrakit map and use it as Manu already showed us with the mobile app. You can see your approximate location, see all the data like points, lines, maps on top of aerial photos. And you can see the cross-section of structures, take photos, and get see the photos taken by other parties. So, for example, here we can see there's a electric manhole in the lower right corner on top of aerial photo. This is used at our construction site, for example, in the winter time when you can't see the manhole covers. But with approximate location data, you can find it. You can clean the snow from the cover and go inside and continue your work there. Or you can open multiple design files at the same time. For example, there's the drainage system and sewage system on the upper right corner at the same time open, and also the aerial map photos on map. So you can see approximately how close which structures are to other things on the field and also locate them roughly. The background map file format we use is DXF. And also the cross sections, the design models, you can see, for example, in the middle, the yellow design file. It has a slope in the bottom, so the workforce can open the cross section and see that it's not just a flat. So it goes deeper into when going to the left end of the design file. So it benefits them when they can see how different designs act together. And for example, here the excavations, I believe, were made simultaneously as the depth is pretty similar all the way. They can also see the pipe networks design files, like in the left hand, which shows the pipe diameters, the design types, and everything bound with that. And I'll mention again the photos because they can be filtered by the folder they're stored at, when they have been taken, who are they taken by, and so on. Because a lot of information is within these photos. It's not just what you can explain with these designs and by words, but also when you can see a photo how the structures are in the field, it benefits everyone because there is just so much more data in a photo. So excavators. Assigning BIM models to the machinery is quite fast and easy. There have been site managers that have done that, but also mainly the surveyors do do assigning models and design files to the heavy machinery. It's done via Infrakit in the machinery tab, so you can just click the file and activate it to the excavators or bulldozer that is on the field. And if a design file is updated, it automatically sends the updated file to the machinery, and the operators can have the latest design files within just a few minutes after it's up in the Infrakit. And it doesn't require doing anything else than just uploading the new file and overrunning the old design file that is there. The as-built points are gathered by machinery and bound to the design files, so they're also uploaded back to Infrakit automatically. And by that way, the foreman can see how the excavations have been going on, and if there are deviations or level changes to the design files, so they can go to the side and see what is the matter, why have they done differently than the design was initially. For example, there might have been a softer soil under there than expected, so they have dug deeper to reach more firm soil. For example, here are some sewage systems and electric piping done already, but there's just a road, but the tracks are coming on top of this, and there aren't too many stakes seen in this photo at the very moment. So surveying. So the surveyors use pretty much all the data that is usable in Infrakit. They use the DXF files, BIM models, as-built points, and design point data. They do quality control, and for example, they test and follow how the excavators are doing their work. Or even though the excavators gather the as-built data, the surveyors have to double check it and do cross-sectional surveys along the way. Surveyors also are one of their tasks responsible for assigning data to machinery and other parties. And as I showed in the previous picture, the use of BIM models has been beneficial also in that way that we don't have to use the inaccurate stakes on the work site, and so we don't waste time putting those in ground, and we can use that time to do other things, focus into other stuff. So how about the designers? The designers, as I told you, gather the as-built data, and for example, the designers can see if, or they can be called if there's an obstacle in the field, and new data can be gathered and sent to Infrakit, and from there the designers can gather the data and update their plans. And for example, I was working at, it wasn't at Tampere, but at this one construction site where I was on phone with the designer, and I was surveying with the Infrakit field tablet with a GNSS antenna, surveying antenna attached to it. I surveyed on the ground, collected these as-built points, and was on call with the designer, and he told me from where the survey was, so he could complete his design, and that was as real time as possible. Finally, the handover. So one of the theses I want to remind everyone that the handover is only a part of the data life cycle, and it is not the end, not the archiving or anything like that. So let's go first to the quality control. this is one way to show the client when there is an initial handover and you go on the field to view how the construction has completed, and along the handover we can show to the client if there are deviations from the designs. We can show on a tablet on the field that these structures aren't there as designed because, for example, we have joined into older structures like the curbstones, but in this picture all the curbstones are in place. We also gather the plate bearing tests. They are stored so we can find them according to their name and foldering, but plate bearing tests are also shown as a background map with a color coding. So in this picture, the DXF file showing these short reports of the plate bearing tests, and if the circle with the cross is red, it means it didn't pass, but all these passed at this very point. So this is a quick view for the client to see if we have completed the construction and the plate bearing tests accordingly to the plans, and the structures are enough, or if there has to be some updates to do. And you can, when it's on top of aerial photos, it's easy to locate and see how the plate bearing tests are, from where and when they're taken. And with the handovers, we store the handover areas with color coding. The colors tell which year they're handed over, and the areas which structure. This is also beneficial when you try to follow the warranty times with the client. So you see which structures are in the end of their 5-year warranty cycle, so you can go and inspect the areas with the client. But also all the data is stored according to these dates with their foldering. The foldering follows pretty much the date in the handover documentation. Here we can see we have pretty much a foldering. Our foldering system follows the dates as seen in the left end. First there is the alphabetical storing system, not by numbers, then there's date, and then there's inverts the structure. So everything is stored in Infrakit, at least in PDF format. So all the quality documentation can be found here, including material reports, manuals, and so on. They can be opened in Infrakit, so you don't have to use separate softwares. You can do it all in the browser there. For example, some drawings are stored in Infrakit as PDF files. For example, you can see here is the survey of the clearance of a bridge at the southern end of the construction project. This is a test file of an IFC file that we had in Infrakit. We didn't use them during construction. We had a few of them at our use, but they withhold pretty much of information. But for the softwares and the ways the surveying uses data and produces it, we didn't use up as much as we could these IFC models. But when you drop an IFC model on top of your very own aerial photos, it gives so much information of the structures beforehand and during the building process. In the aspect of maintenance, so in the beginning of 2020 June, we had around 80,000 compared and validated as-built points at the project's handover documentation. We had 1,300 photos that are checked with 360-degree photos, and we still didn't update all the files because there are still for like 5,000 photos in the construction projects that are not in the handover documentation. At this very moment, there are quite a lot of files, but we have just handed over to the client the first area that is in test use by the tramway system, and out of those, this was very first of 5 areas. And so cleaning up the data and only the necessary data to the handover documentation is essential, so we don't clog up anything. We try to avoid producing any digital waste, I could say. The 360-degree photos, here is one spread it as a large. We can show to the client and other parties how the site was at the very moment of handover. For example, if this would be handed over during winter time, it would be a lot harder to see all the structures on the ground as compared to the summertime photos. We also photo the electric manholes, so we can see all the pipes that come in. So in the upper picture, there's a picture of the manhole, and under there we can see the piping network with the photos attached to the manholes. So it's all just extra data for maintenance and new designs and validation. You can store in .gt file format detailed data. For example, here is traffic light junction box 212 with its corner and center point. It's very specific coordinate data, but it's also possible to store data of larger areas. For example, all the curbstones, pavements, and everything. This is the kind of data that the city of Tampere gathers from our handover documentation and uses as it is to update the city base maps and the other parties. So we gather a lot of data, and it's not just stored there, it's already put in use. And it's easy to validate the data when it's on top of aerial photos. And to the track maintenance, when you're putting the tracks in the city area, you have to put them within a concrete. So all the pipe networks that are in the concrete are also stored here. So afterwards, if the maintenance or anyone needs them, you can find them with Infrakit. And the data is in a form that it's transferable to other softwares and machinery that the survey uses. So, usability of information and reuse as a basis for planning. The key elements is the ease of updating and sharing data at Tampere Tramway Alliance. If you produce data that all the parties can't use, it's pretty much useless data. It has to be in a way everyone can benefit from it. The designers and the builders, constructors, they work as a team. They meet weekly basis and negotiate of the upcoming events and design the need and the changes they are requiring. And as the way we share data, the update can be done within nearly the same day, depending of the area from where the update is coming up. So the constructors can have in a pretty fast pace all the new data they require. And the ability to cut away waiting time is a pretty big thing when there are 500 people during winter time at the construction site. At the summertime, I don't know what is the average. I believe it is about 1,500 people during summers 2018 and 2019. I could say the information that is valid and easy to share is also a key thing in the data lifecycle. So we store and archive paper copies of the designs because they're required by law in Finland, but we also store the BIM data, as I could say. So it's in a long run saving money and time from the city, as the data we have collected and stored is also usable by other projects that can join, for example, the Tampere tramway network in future years. So you don't have to begin from zero, and you already have some data of the environment around there. And I could say also that working with the people of Infrakit has been a great pleasure, as we have worked together with them. We have developed new tools, and if something isn't working, we have tried to reach out to them, and they have told us what to do differently, perhaps if there are obstacles. So it has been beneficial for us, as we have gotten a better and better product, and they have also been getting a better product that pleases their clients. So we have grown together. So this is a pretty big thing for me. Thank you very much. So you can find more data from the Tampere Raitiotie Alliance website that is in English, and Manu also will be sharing the tiny URL in the lower left corner to you guys, which is these presentations if you want to view it later also. It's a pretty information presentation, so you can see it afterwards also. Manu.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Teppo. It was very